presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
It is the calm before the storm. Risky weather. Channel 5 likes to say it's a first alert day. We're supposed to get some rough weather coming in right around noon. Just be aware. It's World Cup Tuesday. We're getting high winds, possible hail, stuff like that. If that happens and it knocks out my coverage of the Iran and USA World Cup, I will be very disappointed.
Not a happy camper.
That's Brian Dacus filling in for J. Morgan Harder today. He'll be back tomorrow. So we're going to talk with Matt O'Sullivan, former U.S. soccer team member on the 76 Olympic team. He'll join us on the World Cup in about 10 minutes or so. Jeff Moore on the NFL at 10:25. We'll talk college hoops. Plenty to talk about. You see, Houston is number one in the country.
Look good.
You know, they beat Oregon. That's their only big win. I was looking at their schedule thinking this is going to be like Gonzaga. They got nobody else. They're going to be a top seed for sure. Then I looked. So you know who else they're playing this year?
I know they have Virginia in December.
They have Virginia. They have Alabama, just like Memphis.
Ooh.
They got St. Mary's, which is the only other good team in the league that Gonzaga's in. So, I think they're going to have enough where they're not going to run the table. They're going to lose to somebody, maybe Memphis.
Yeah.
But they're going to be a top seed. They're going to have the chance again to go a long way in the NCAA tournament. Kelvin Sampson has that program going. There's no doubt. Now it'll be interesting next year. They won't be in the American. They will be in the Big 12, and that'll be a whole different ballgame for all of them. So we got World Cup today. NFL Week 12 came to a close Saturday. And I'll ask Jeff Moore about this at about 10:25 today. Did he mismanage the clock at the end of the game? He defended himself and clearly said, no, we were aware. 30 seconds, we thought there was plenty of time with the 3 timeouts. I think it was totally botched.
Me too.
I think you got to keep a minute and a half is when you start using them, especially if you're going to call a run play like they did. I do not understand what they were thinking about, and they wasted the end of that game, unfortunately, for the Colts. The Pittsburgh Steelers, though, were happy about that for sure. And then Hugh Freeze does get the Auburn job. Now, yesterday in the afternoon, I spoke, Bryant, with your cohort and a guy who really knows the inside of the SEC,
Really
our
knows it.
SEC historian. That would be Brett Norsworthy, he and Ron Higgins, who will join us on Thursday. And both of us thought because they went through this vetting process, which John Cohen, the new AD, spoke about. And after Lane Kiffin turned them down, which there's no doubt he did, and he was their first choice, they went back to Hugh Freeze. Now, there were a lot of rumors that there were factions there that did not want Hugh Freeze. And this is the problem with that job. I said this several times now. Hugh Freeze is going to get this gig. He signed a deal. It's, by the way, he's losing $1 million in guaranteed money because he was getting 8 years, $40 million to live in those beautiful hills in Virginia and be the head coach at Liberty. He's getting $1 less million because he signed a 6-year deal that is going to average $6.5 million. So it's $1.5 million more a year, but in the end, it's 2 less years, so you're losing $1 million, $39 million to $40. But he wants to coach in the SEC. He wants to win a national championship. I don't blame him for that, for sure. But it's a tough situation, I would think, because the way it worked is you had 2 different factions, and enough people were pulling for Kiffin over Freeze that Kiffin got the nod. Well, then when Kiffin said no, now Freeze is supposed to get the job. But again, there was enough people there that halted that deal for a period of time. And then finally, they won out, the ones that wanted Hugh Freeze. So they did win out. But What's the percentage that didn't want him at all, that didn't want him when they wanted Kiffin, that didn't want him after Kiffin turned it down? There's a faction there. So and this is a poisonous culture, it seems to me, within the boosters at Auburn, and it's been that way for a while. So Freeze goes in there, and unless he can wow all those people right off the bat, maybe he was capable, but he's got enemies right off the bat.
Makes it difficult.
I think so. That's why that job. There's two
Playing
reasons
from behind.
I've said a long time now. I would not consider the Auburn job an elite job. And I know many do, and I don't mean total disrespect. But here's the two reasons why. One, you're always the stepchild in that state. You're not beating out Alabama. Alabama's the golden child. And two, there is a culture there with boosters that are out of control. And now you see he's coming in, and there's a large percentage that didn't want him. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out. But he got the job, and he got $39 million. So Hugh Freeze is all taken care of. That is for certain. And he would have been taken care of and lived a good life at Liberty, but he chose to get in the fire, so you give him credit for being a competitor. Tiger Hoops tomorrow against North Alabama. Mike DeCourcy will chat with us. We will talk college hoops. That will come your way at about 10:45 or so. I looked it up. The Tigers now, their KenPom is pretty darn good. It's
Really good.
27. Which you'd be a 4 or 5 seed, right?
Yeah.
If they were going by that. I haven't looked what their net is. Their strength of schedule is 18th.
It's really good, actually. I didn't know it was that high.
But think about it.
I guess that's right. Their non-conference schedule's so tough this year.
So they've beaten Vandy
Mm-hmm.
at Vandy.
Yeah.
So that's a quad 1 win on the road. They've beaten Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
And Nebraska on a neutral. I don't know where those quads are. I'm not sure what their KenPoms were or their net was at the time. And then they beat VCU at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I think VCU, I don't know. That'd
probably be a quad 2 win.
I think it was a quad 2 because I think they were in the low 80s.
I think so.
So that's a quad 2. But when you look at strength of schedule, and I was listening, and Eli was down in Orlando doing the Ole Miss game, so he saw this competition. And he had respect for Stanford, not much for Nebraska, and I kind of go along with that.
I can see that.
Stanford, their philosophy about the way they shoot trees, and they're shooting under 30%.
Yeah.
Why are you shooting so many, especially when you're that long?
Mm-hmm. I was thinking the same thing.
I mean you're taller than anybody I've seen, and you keep going downtown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But that is all going to be interesting. It makes really and truly home games so critical. You've got to get Ole Miss, and I meant to check to see what the KenPom from Ole Miss is, but Ole Miss, I think they've only lost the one game, and that was in the championship to Oklahoma. No shocker or shame there. They're better than most people think, and so when you spin the dice here, you win that game, that's just a quad 1 win, and you're off and you are running. You got to get A&M, and you got that murderous stretch on the road with Auburn on a neutral in Atlanta and then in Tuscaloosa. So you want to stay in the picture, probably win one of those two if you can, win the home games, and you're setting yourself up very, very nicely. But North Alabama will be on the docket tomorrow, and we look forward to seeing what they are like. Memphis has already taken their football team to task. One would suspect that they will do the same thing to the basketball Lions tomorrow evening. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios. A reminder to one and to all that the Relax at Home sale continuing. Now it's probably going to end in a couple of days, right? We've got December 1st coming. That means a Christmas sale. I know a Christmas sale is coming. It always does. Billy, Lindsay, all of them are cooking things up at Family Leisure. You can get a massage chair right now, though, or a home theater set for a remarkable price because they still have the Relax at Home sale going on. Also, you got deals on pool tables, shuffleboards, all about competition, bringing your friends and your family in for the holidays. Oh, there's saunas and hot tubs and patio furniture as they move stuff out. Still on sale with the Relax at Home sale from Family Leisure. You know, our title sponsors, Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, where they have this new financing opportunity for you. Go to the corner of Craft Road, first exit in Mississippi off Highway 78, which is Lamar. Turn left and go pick up a new Santa Fe or a new Hyundai Tucson or a Veloster or an Elantra, any new Hyundai. Pick it up, drive it off. Oh, don't worry about paying for 90 days. 3 months, the new deferred payments for 90 days only at Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch. Love talking to the former soccer rocker, the 1976 U.S. soccer team member, Matthew O'Sullivan. Matto joins us now. We got a big game coming up here in about 3 hours.
It's all happening, baby.
So you know what this is, really? This is the knockout round without PKs. You've got to score a goal today.
Yeah, they must score at least one goal, and they must score more goals than Iran. It's as simple as that, and they're not the only ones. There's multiple groups up and down that have the same thing. Right now, there's only 2 teams totally eliminated, and that is the host Qatar,
right,
and our northern neighbor Canada. They're done. Only 3 teams are in: Brazil, France, and Portugal.
So today is a mammoth day, or the next couple of days, but they're mammoth days for group play to figure out who's going to end up in the knockout round.
Group A is playing right now. They just went through halftime, and the Netherlands is ahead 1-0 over Qatar, so they would win the group. And right now, Senegal is beating Ecuador 1-0.
Oh, that must have just happened. Brian Dacus and I were watching some of the game. It was 0-0.
Yeah, it's 1-0, and it's about 6-7 minutes into the second half.
Okay. Breakdown for me. Oh, first off, before you do the breakdown, there's a bunch of stuff going on between the Iranian government, honestly, their soccer team, and putting pressure on their soccer team about singing the anthem, and also on the U.S. Soccer Federation for not having the Islamic symbols on their Iranian flag, which was on their website. The U.S. team, by the way, as was told by their coach and by their captain yesterday, had nothing to do with this. They just want to play soccer, right? That's all they're interested in.
This is somebody that, controls the website that thought it was a great idea, or somebody at, corporate USA Soccer. I mean, dumb thing to do. Leave it alone. They're playing the thing now. Try to keep politics out of it. The Qatar politics has kind of died down since the beginning, as people are there and they're playing the World Cup, and that's what everybody cares about. They really don't care about, there's problems all over the world. Pick a country. So that's all Burkhalter wants them to do is focus on the game and play the game.
And their captain yesterday, Adams, who, by the way, was brilliant in certainly the first game, very good in the second game too.
Absolutely great in the second game.
His restraint yesterday was amazing. First of all, he said Iran instead of Iran, and that PO'd a reporter who was asking him a question about discrimination. And he goes, well, first off, let me apologize for mispronouncing it. I mean, really slow, deliberate, sincere.
Very sincere.
And then he went on to say there's discrimination everywhere. And I would have added, had it been me, because I'm more hot-headed than him, I would have said, yeah, there's discrimination everywhere. Just ask the women in your country. But he didn't say that.
That's why you would not be captain.
That is correct. You got it right. That's why you would be and I would not be.
Tyler did. He was wonderfully, astute and calm and just, apologized appropriately and said, "Oh, my bad. Sorry about that." But you know what? There's lots, like I said, there's lots of stuff going on all over the world. So let's not pick any particular one today.
Yeah.
So today it'll be interesting to see what Burkhalter, who he puts up front. That's going to be a big. I think the back four will be the same. The midfield will be the same, and Pulisic will be up front. And it's just going to be interesting to see what he does in the center forward position.
What about, and maybe I overemphasize the importance of Reyna, but I've seen him take over games. I don't know why. Maybe it's his age too. He's only 19, but why is he not more prominently figured strategically in the American attack?
It's a great question, and like always with a lot of these teams, there's things that are happening that we just have no knowledge of, and it's not outside the group. And the fact that Reyna didn't come on earlier in the England game, the first game he could have come on, but maybe he did have a little pull, or he looked funny in practice or whatever. You're not sure what Burkhalter saw that he didn't put him in. But the second game in England, he did come on, but he came on for 7 or 8 minutes, which is like, I mean, when you come on in a game, it takes you realistically, it takes, 5 or 6 minutes to kind of get into the game, because you're right. Coming out there and everybody's going 150 miles an hour.
And you're cold.
And you've been sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
You kind of got to get in the, you got to get the ball a couple times and play it and then get the energy and whatever. 7 minutes is like, okay, right. What good is this? It's almost useless.
So why? First of all, why is he not starting? I don't understand that particular.
I don't think you're not going to start him because Reyna struggles to go 90 minutes. He's not been playing 90 minutes for his club. He's been playing 60. He'll start, but they'll pull him off after 60 minutes. They're being careful because he's got to build everything back up after 2 years of fighting these hamstring injuries that he's had. So you don't want to start him, but you do want to insert him appropriately in the second half. And that's probably with at least 30 minutes to go. Like at the 60 minute mark, you put him in, you give him enough time to get in the game and then have an impact on the game.
Or how about starting him and moving and removing him in the last 20 minutes when you got to get more defense out there if you've got a lead. Take the chances because you got to score today.
No, you need to score, and it's going to be the big move. Will be what he does with the center forward position, and whether he puts Ferreira in and gives him a shot at it, or he goes ahead and pushes Tim Wee up front, and then put Pulisic in and Aronson on the right side. They got to go. They got to push and score a goal, and they need to score a goal early. I'm telling you, because otherwise. That they're going to just sit back and bunker, and it's going to be tough to get through them.
So if there is a draw today, Iran's in, right?
Correct.
So they're going to just sit back and be very defensive unless the Americans get a goal. So all right,
exactly.
How do you think the United States will play this strategically right off the bat? How much pressure? How many chances will they take?
They are gonna push up high and go right at them quickly. There'll be a lot of early energy expended to try to pick up an early goal, because an early goal then loosens. Iran's going to have to start going forward at some point, and that opens up their back end, which could lead to a second goal or a third goal.
How good is Iran? And I ask this because they got blistered by England. What was it, 6-2? So they England scored a lot of goals on that team. And then Wales, they didn't score until Wales was down a man, right?
It was right around the same time, and I'm not sure, but I think Wales had gone down a man.
Yeah, they had.
But to be truthful, there was only 8 minutes plus stoppage left in the game. And that's, to be down a guy with that much time isn't that big of a thing compared to, say, if there's, 50 minutes left in a game or 40 minutes left in a game. That's a lot longer to survive that. You can survive 8 plus stoppage. You just short one guy up front, but you can do it. But Wales just basically lost focus just for a second, like always, and boom, they score a goal. And then the second goal was, I won't say it's meaningless because it comes into play with goals with goal differential,
Right.
which is how some of these groups may end up getting the differential between somebody going or not could be goal differential.
Yeah. All right. So play it out for me. How does it unfold today?
I think it's a 2-0 U.S. victory.
All right. 2-0.
They're going to score one. They're going to score one early. It's going to loosen Iran up a little bit, and somebody, hopefully before half, will put a second one in. Once you get that second one, then you can take a little bit of a breath. Otherwise, you can never take a breath.
I'm with
So
you.
after Iran scored almost all their goals late in the game. They scored the 2 goals against Wales after the 90-minute mark into the extra time. Because these games are all running 100 minutes instead of 90 with all the stoppage time they're adding.
Right. Absolutely.
So it's going to be I'll tell you what, this week's going to be, there's going to be battles in almost every game.
This is going to be a great day. I can't wait to watch it. Last thing, are you available tomorrow, same time slot, to chat about what happens here?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I do have you on a incredible retainer. I would suspect you would be,
I go to the mailbox daily.
Yeah, exactly.
Just wait.
Yeah. Make sure you get there today. So we'll talk about this tomorrow. Last thing though is, will the Iranians sing the national anthem today? Because there's a lot of pressure. I mean, threats to their families if they don't. They've already made their statement. What happens in that regard?
Boy, if this is where the government, Iran's the same way, like the United States needs to be focused on the game. So somehow they've got to be able, to be worried about your family or whatever is just not where you want to have people's brains at. And it's terrible that it's happening, obviously, anyway. But, I mean, these guys made a statement initially, and now, like you say, who knows what terrible things have been, whispered to them, so to speak. And you know what? I think they will all move their lips. How about that?
Shit, there you go. They will all
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what they'll be singing, really, but they'll look like they're singing something.
Well, no one can blame them, because there definitely has been threats, and we've seen what the Iranians have done in the past. So it would worry the heck out of me if I were a team member, not necessarily for me, but what they might do to my family. Matt O'Sullivan, we'll talk again same time tomorrow, and hopefully we're talking about who the USA is going to play in the knockout round, what their path is.
Like a great call. Y'all be good. Talk to you tomorrow.
You got it. That is our man, the soccer rocker. That is Matt O'Sullivan. He is brought to you in part by the good folks at AmeriCare. I like talking about AmeriCare. This is a place that will make your older people that may need now assisted living, even memory care, they will make you feel right at home. That's the philosophy of AmeriCare, and they got 3 locations in the Memphis area. South Breeze is right on Hanks Cross. In Collierville, it's Schilling Gardens, and Olive Branch on Goodman Road, it is Olive Grove Terrace. And by the way, if you go to Olive Grove Terrace and you take your loved one there are some really good opportunities when you first go in, signing in to Olive Grove Terrace. Let me just tell you a little bit about the philosophy of AmeriCare, which started in 81 in Sikeston, Missouri, and now has 133 places. They have this great philosophy about aging. It's not just eating right and vegetables and exercising. It's about where you live that really matters. AmeriCare properties are more intimate. It's easier to make friends. It's really inviting for fun activities. You can share good company at mealtimes, and all of a sudden, this place that you're living, assisted living, or even memory care, it feels like home. When you maintain your health, you set a course for aging well, and that means you live happier. That's what happens when you put your loved ones into AmeriCare. We'll take a quick time out. When we come back, Jeff Moore will join us on the National Football League.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Bienvenidos! Welcome to Los Cabos with 4 locations, Quince, Bartlett, Germantown, and now on Goodman Road. Los Cabos serving the best food in town with quality service and a fun family atmosphere. At Los Cabos, food and drink are an important part of the dining experience, so you get exceptional food with cocktails worthy of that food. You'll find the best margaritas at Los Cabos, along with delicious specialty drinks, handcrafted cocktails, beer, and happy hour specials 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily. Los Cabos is open for lunch and dinner, with lunch specials every day starting at $7. Come enjoy delicious Mexican dishes and seafood at the best sports bars in town. Visit with family and friends and enjoy Los Cabos Mexican Bar and Grill. Los Cabos, now with 4 locations, Quince, Bartlett, Germantown, and their newest location, 3964 Goodman Road, just a few minutes down the road from Getwell. See you soon at Los Cabos.
At the Home Depot, we have plenty of Christmas trees to make your holidays even more magical. Hundreds of full, easy-to-assemble artificial trees that look so real, you may be convinced they actually are. And for those who love that fresh pine smell, we have a parking lot full of fresh-cut trees to call your own. We'll even help you load your tree in the car so you can bring home the holidays. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Getaway Sports Bar, the best-kept secret in town, open noon to 1:30 a.m. 7 days a week. Garvin, the owner, created this SEC NFL Dream Bar over 20 years ago. You'll never miss a minute of action. 10 TVs, 5 70-inch TVs for all the big games. Rack them up on 6 pool tables. Coldest beer in town, grab you a pool stick and get you some good bar grub. 100% Angus burgers, big and moist chicken tenders. Daily happy hour Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 p.m. with long neck domestics, $2.25. Getaway Sports Bar, 4632 Winchester.
It's the year-end sales event at Gossett Mitsubishi, and have we got a deal for you? Get power, safety, and bold style with 2022 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport, $329 a month or $25,345. And take your pick at Gossett Mitsubishi, 2023 Mitsubishi Outlander or 2023 Eclipse Cross. We Gossett at $379 a month, or you'll find 1.9 for 36 months available. And if you're looking for peace of mind in your new ride, get a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Shop Gossett Mitsubishi, 1870 Covington Pike, or shop online anytime at memphismitsubishi.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
Sport 75 months at 5.44 APR. Outlander and Eclipse 72 months at 4.90. All 500 military rebates. Sport NU 020537. MSRP 26095. Outlander PC 009630. MSRP 296. Eclipse PC 006400. MSRP 28785. Includes all rebates and incentives. Excludes tax, title, and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 11/30/22. Dealer stock only.
Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Jeff Moore, the National Football League, coming your way in a second. He's brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Team. These folks at Eflin, they are really good at what they do, and they do it a different way. It's collaboration. If you're going to get life insurance or maybe a home program, auto insurance, they get to know you, your family, what you're all about, what your budget is, and then they'll protect you. Same thing if you've got a small to mid-sized business, you need commercial insurance. He does the exact same thing, gets to know your business, what your assets are, what you must protect, what your budget is, and then he finds the exact right protection. All you got to do is call 901-386-GER. That's 4777. That's the way to really get protected the right way. That's the number for the Eflin Insurance Team. Jeff Moore joins us. As we mentioned last night, we put to end week number 12, and there was a little bit of, I don't know if it's controversy, but questioning. Jeff Saturday, new coach, his third game as a head coach, never really coached at any level before this.
Yeah.
And I thought at the end of the game he had plenty of time. He had 3 timeouts, and he waited until there was 30 seconds left in the game to use his first timeout. He literally threw away over a minute of time that could have been used had I thought he did it better strategically. You know the game better than me. What was your sense of it?
No, I think he could have used or should have used his timeouts, at least one of the timeouts a little bit earlier. That clock management is really a skill in and of itself. We see a lot of coaches that have been in the league a long time make that mistake. And you just really, it really takes repetition and being able to manage it in game-type situations, and it's tough. Especially with things moving fast the way they were, you just learn that. That's experience.
I sit up in the booth, and I do the same thing, and I'm watching that game, and I'm going, call timeout, and he's not. And then I'm listening, and I hear Troy Aikman and Joe Buck saying the same thing, and you're saying to yourself, this is a pretty basic strategic move here.
Yeah.
And it's not just Jeff Saturday. He's got a guy who's calling plays. Now, it's, by the way, his third game of calling plays in this new thing. But how do they both miss that? That's what I don't get that.
Yeah. It's their responsibility because, of course, the players are out there playing. They're not thinking about or they know that that's necessary in that situation, but they're going to do what they're dictated to do from the sideline. So it's just something that they've got to get on the same page about. Just a good learning experience for him as a coach and his players.
A year ago, the stories were the Packers and the Bucks and the two great quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. This year, the story could be, I don't know if you can pinpoint it all on them, but Brady and Rodgers are struggling. Aaron Rodgers is hurt. First it was his thumb. Now he's got bad ribs too. By the way, they play the Bears on Sunday. And I don't know if he's going to play. I believe Matt LaFleur said he was going to try. We'll see. But we're really watching the changing of the guard here, aren't we?
We'll have to see. I think Aaron Rodgers has not indicated he plans to retire after this season. He's not indicated he wants to leave. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. There's always a little bit of controversy with him in the offseason, it seems, the last couple of years. But if Green Bay is smart, they'll want to keep him and try to keep him. It'll be a good opportunity to see what Jordan Love can do and let him get some snaps. But as long as Aaron Rodgers wants to be a Packer, they should do everything they can to keep him there. He's one of the best ever. Yeah, well, he's killed the Bears. And even with bad ribs and a terrible thumb, I don't want him to play, honestly. I'd rather see Jordan Love. But I do think you're right about them. If I were LaFleur, I would sit down with Aaron and I would say, Aaron, you're not 100%. We want you. We want you to come back next year. We love you. But let us play Jordan Love here so you can get healthy and we can decide if Jordan Love is worth picking up to be your backup next year because the contract is up on Love after this year. Yeah, I think he'll be more, Aaron Rodgers has indicated as long as they're mathematically eligible or there's potential for them to make the playoffs, he wants to play. But they do need to protect him, and sometimes you just have to protect the player in spite of what that player's wishes are, and that might be the move they have to make. There's also an interesting quarterback saga going on in New York with the Jets. They had put everything into Zach Wilson, and then he did some stupid things on field, off field, and so they started Mike White. And Mike White, this is against the Bears defense, which is no longer what it used to be without Roquan Smith and without Robert Quinn, but he had a big game. And yet, they're still saying Zach Wilson is going to be in their plans. What do you make of the mess in New York City? It's not a mess yet. I mean, Mike White has to give us a bigger sample size in just what game. But what he played out of his mind this weekend. He had 3 touchdown passes, threw to 10 different receivers. And one of the things I always look for when there's this kind of quarterback situation is how his teammates, how the backup quarterback's teammates respond to him. And he seems like he's really got a good rapport with his teammates. We'll have to see. He'll have to put together more games than this, but that will certainly makes the coach look good to sit him down. And I mean, I think they still believe in their quarterback, Zach, but he needs – sometimes you have to sit on the sidelines and watch and observe and see the kind of mistakes you're making in those same situations. And, of course, as a head coach, you don't want to make a change when a guy plays the way Mike White played this weekend. You just let it play out. Week 12 was kind of crazy.
this is the National Football League, right, where passing has gone crazy over the last few years. The Eagles rushed for 363 yards against the Packers. Josh Jacobs, the running back for the Vegas Raiders, had 303 all-purpose yards, 229 on the ground himself, including an 86-yard walk-off touchdown in overtime. What the heck is happening with running in the NFL?
It's kind of refreshing to see. It kind of seems like a lost art sometime. But what Jalen Hurts is doing with the Eagles is really got to be scary to a lot of defensive coordinators, because this is the one position you can't necessarily account for when you line up, and what they've decided to do is really take advantage of situations like that they see where a team is really weak in their run defense, and they did a brilliant job of just having design runs for him that picked up big yardage. Josh Jacobs is a great running back. He's shown that he can be reliable. It remains to be seen if he'll be able to continue that kind of production. It was just an incredible night for him, and we want to see more of it. The Raiders can use it.
What are some of the other impressions you might have had from Week 12?
Well, certainly one of the big things that you talked about, Tom Brady, and certainly even with the kind of season that he's having, they're still tied for the lead in that division. And I thought it was striking to see Cleveland come back and win that game in overtime. That was huge for Cleveland, but it was something. It says to me that Tampa still has a lot of work to do, and in spite of that, they're still tied for first in that division. So we'll see what happens.
Well, that division is awful. Everybody's under 500. That's probably the worst division in the game.
Yeah, and then of course the Tennessee Titans again. Struggled in the second half of having any kind of offensive production, and ended up losing to the Bengals for the third time since those teams have played. That's something they've got to fix. And I like the fact that they've gone back to running Derrick Henry and getting the ball in his hands, but their production in the second half of late has been less than stellar, and they've got to fix that before they get to the playoffs.
Well, unfortunately for them, too, they're in a division where they're a lock to make the playoffs. All right, so at this point, we've got the best team in the National Football League is Philadelphia. They're 10-1. Then Kansas City and Minnesota are 9-2. Miami and Buffalo are 8-3. There are 6 teams at 7-4. Amongst those 6 teams, besides the ones I mentioned, are there any other teams in that group of 6 that you think could make the Super Bowl?
Not to make the Super Bowl, I would say no. Not in that 6.
How about San Francisco? They're 7-4.
Now, San Francisco, if they continue to produce offensively, I mean, their defense has been stellar. The last 4 weeks, they've not allowed a score in the second half, which is unbelievable. But, Jimmy G still has to show me he can play in the big games. They've got the weapons, no question about it. We'll just have to see. I need to see a little bit more out of this offense, but defensively, they've got a championship defense. I think those guys are running around and creating havoc for a lot of teams right now.
It is interesting. Jimmy G never gets the respect, and he's going to have to win some playoff games, I guess, before he ever gets it. He does have enough talent in place. Getting McCaffrey really changed, I think, the upside for the Niners. Of those teams I mentioned, Philly 10-1, KC and Minnesota 9-2, Miami and Buffalo 8-3. Which is the best team?
I think Kansas City, primarily because
I'm in agreement with you 100%.
Yeah, Kansas City, because to me, Patrick Mahomes is having an MVP year. But the most important thing I think as you get deeper into the season and the playoffs is experience. And this team has it. They have it in their quarterback. They have it in their coaching staff. And they've got the kind of weapons that I think could get them deep in the playoffs, where outside of Buffalo, these other teams, they're playing well, but they haven't shown that they can go deep in the playoffs yet. And the game changes when you leave the regular season and go into the playoffs.
I'm glad you mentioned Buffalo, because to me that's the most disappointing team. I thought they were in the same category as Kansas City, and I don't think they are anymore.
So they've got some things to correct, but I think this team, Buffalo, will be in the hunt when it gets down to it, because they have a solid team offensively and defensively. And surprisingly, the challenges they've had have been at the quarterback position. He plays like Superman, and then he's made some mistakes that have cost them. Otherwise, I think their record would be identical to Kansas City. So they'll get it corrected. Buffalo, I think, will be in the hunt. The surprise for me in the AFC is the Dolphins. I didn't expect them to play as well as they're playing.
No, I'm with you there. Philly, where would you put them in the mix? Is there any other team? Minnesota? I think they were exposed a little bit here. Who's the best team in the NFC?
So I still think it's Philadelphia because they've done it. They've been consistent. And the team that beat them, the Commanders, I mean, they're surprising everybody, but they've won 7 games so far this year. They're the division opponent. I like the way what Philadelphia, to me, appears like the strongest team. I mean, they seem to really play together, and their quarterback just creates havoc for defenses. It's hard to defend those guys, and they've got a lot of weapons.
Yeah, he can throw and he can run, and he's got smarts to him. And the Eagles are fun to watch, no doubt about it. Jeff Moore, as always, thank you so much. We appreciate it, and we'll do this again next week. I love the NFL 17 games now. Makes it even better. Thank you much. We appreciate it. That is Jeff Moore. He's brought to you in part by the good folks at Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. And, of course, always thinking about trying to make your life a little easier and more efficient. And right now they remind you new government regulations will drive HVAC prices higher. With these new regulations, you really need to replace your unit. Do it now while it's still cheaper. That's their goal. Call 384-3511, and they're enticing you to beat the increase, replace the old inefficient system with a new energy cooling system. And if you do that, they'll throw in a free furnace, and they'll do a free Nest thermostat. That's the latest and the greatest, where you can control temperature and everything from your phone. Like you be in Europe and make sure your house is 72 degrees. It's pretty cool stuff. The Nest thermostat's on the house, so is the furnace. And this isn't with just one different air conditioning system. It's with a number that you get to choose from. Just call this number, 384-3511. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. And once again, our title sponsor is Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, right at the corner of Craft Road and Highway 78, where when you go buy a brand new Hyundai, the best product on the market, any new Hyundai, you take it off the lot and don't worry about paying for 90 days. Defer your payment for 3 months if you go to Homer Skelton Hyundai. We're back in just 1 minute. The Hall of Famer Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News on college basketball. He's right around the corner.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Today on Fox.
Wow! Oh, my goodness!
The Stars and Stripes must come out strong in a huge World Cup group stage clash.
And he just rifles his home.
Christian Pulisic once again leads the U.S. Young Guns.
Now that is magnificent!
As they take the field for a crucial showdown against Iran.
A moment of magic!
USA, Iran. Coverage begins today at 1 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli, with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Binswanger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Binswanger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Binswanger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit binswingerglass.com. Binswanger Glass.
When you open a crisp, cold Bud Light, you know game day is here.
Touchdown! You owe me $5.
We mean every sound. Enjoy responsibly. 2022 Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
I'm with John Burgos from the world-famous Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948.
Brett, we have catered parties all over this country and all over the world, from Singapore, Australia to Central Park in New York. But many people don't realize how much we do locally. For holiday events, office parties, tailgating, birthday parties, you can't do better than the Rendezvous. For example, you can get a cheese and sausage tray for 15 to 300 people for $3.75 a person. You can even build your own nacho bar for $10.50 per person. All you need is a minimum of 15 people. In many cases, we can arrange delivery and full-service catering. We've even made it easy to get to-go items. You can just park at our front door in the alley, put on your flashes, and we'll get you going ASAP. For all your catering items and prices, go to hogsfly.com, click on menu, and drop down to catering.
Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948 and celebrating its 75th year.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome back in. The Hall of Famer Mike DeCourcy scheduled here to join us, and I know we will be doing that because I just talked with him a little while ago. Looking forward to his insight. We have a new AP Top 25. Houston is on top of that. I would suspect there have been so many upsets. You got two teams from Texas that are number 1 and 2. Houston and Texas in both polls. Mike DeCourcy, lead analyst for the Sporting News when it comes to college basketball in the College Basketball Hall of Fame, joins us. How surprised are you at the turn of events so early in the season?
Oh, there's been some really surprising results. North Carolina going out to Portland and struggling as much as they did. And really, they have struggled since the beginning of the year. And I suspect it's tied to two factors. One, they aren't deep at all. They have you know, this I used to call this, I think it'll be less so with Puff Johnson getting healthy. But I remember when Vegas with Larry Johnson and Stacey Ogman in that group. And when they subbed, it was like one of those spare tires, those skinny spares they put in your thing so you don't have to have a full. It's like that. It looked like that. And it kind of is that way with Carolina right now until Puff is 100%. Now, he played 45 minutes, I think, because they went to 4 overtimes against Alabama, and they lost. But at least they'll have somebody. To that point, they had no bench at all, and they have not been impressive. And that's probably been the most surprising result of what's gone on early.
They call those things donuts, but they're really not sweet in a car. I can promise you that. Okay, I was, Houston is now sitting atop there. They have one nice win. It was against Oregon, and I was thinking, and we were chatting earlier, they've got it made the rest of the way. Then I looked at their schedule. They've got, first off, St. Mary's, which, that's the one team in the Gonzaga League that's pretty good. Then, like Memphis, they've got Alabama, and they've got a game against Virginia. So I don't know that they're going to run the table, but they're going to have enough on their plate to ensure that they're going to really have a good seeding.
Well, one of the things that when I was originally, I think Sporting News asked me to do a column in which I projected the 4 number 1 seeds and that sort of thing. And I did, and although I had them in my top 4 in the preseason top 25, I did not project them for a 1 seed at that point because I looked at that and I thought, okay, Oregon, yeah, maybe. And Virginia, I thought was going to be pretty good. I think they're better than even I thought they were going to be. and then the Alabama game. And there's not much beyond that except for the league. And then the league is, at this point, it's the Tigers and maybe Temple and, gosh, who else? You know, I mean, Cincinnati hasn't played well. UCF hasn't played well. SMU has not. So that's the thing. Is it a problem for Houston? It hasn't been a problem for Gonzaga, but Gonzaga overcame that over the last half decade or so by scheduling high major wall-to-wall just about prior to the start of the league. And Houston did not do that with this group, which, honestly, I don't know if it was a struggle to get people on the floor with them because everybody knew they were going to be great, and they didn't want to start a series with that, or why Houston wasn't able to be in one of the better, more competitive multi-team events, I'm not sure.
Because there are plenty of them now. My goodness, there's more than I've ever remember, and that's without Alaska, which I kind of miss.
Yeah, I do too. I went there twice, Dave, and let me tell you, first of all, the people up there were so nice.
Yeah.
They loved having you there and made you feel it every minute of the time you were there. And I was fortunate that the weather wasn't bad. I mean, it was really cold the one time, and it snowed a lot the other. But for the most part, it was pretty good. And I'll never forget those two trips. They were among my favorites.
Well, it was always dark, too, right? I mean, you only had so much daylight.
Yes.
Which is bizarre. But, they started the whole thing that now, I don't know how many tournaments there are, but there's, 2 or 3 in the Caribbean now. There's Myrtle Beach that used to be Puerto Rico. The best is still Maui. I like the Atlantis one. Where else? How many of them are there, Mike? Do you know?
Oh, there are a gazillion of them. They have the ones in New York that Gazelle Group puts on the New York,
right.
New Jersey area.
In Barclay, at the Barclay Center, which
Yes.
Memphis has played in twice. Yeah.
Yes. So there are so many, and I have not noticed that South Dakota, they had a group putting on tournaments for a while. I did not notice whether they had one this year or not.
Well, Memphis played in that in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, at the Pentagon, I think is what they call it, which is cool. But that was not a Thanksgiving Day deal. That was usually you go there and you played one game. Memphis went there before Wichita State was in the American when they were still in the Valley, and that had that great team with Baker and the guy that's really good in the NBA.
Yes, Fred VanVleet.
Yeah, VanVleet. And they killed, Memphis fell behind like 7-0. It was never in the game. But that was a cool place. I like that. I don't think they ever had a Thanksgiving Day deal.
Gotcha.
Speaking of Memphis, so the Tigers now have beaten Vandy. They have beaten VCU. They've beaten Stanford. And they've beaten Nebraska. Nebraska probably the worst of those teams. They have a strength of schedule of 18 and a Ken Pom today of 27. How good do you think that is for your resume at this point trying to build?
It's good. As Penny scheduled, and we talked about this before the season, he really laid it on the line. I mean, they still have those 4 SEC games,
right?
3 in a row. And I think at this point, it becomes incumbent upon them to take care of Ole Miss. The home game, Ole Miss has not played great so far.
Well, they're 5-1. They only lost to Oklahoma.
Yeah, but Oklahoma's not a great team. So I'm not saying that it's an easy game. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying if you lose this one, you have to make up for it somewhere. And that means maybe sweeping the 3 in a row with Auburn, Alabama, A&M, or beating
hard.
Houston on the road, something like that. I mean, that's the way you have to think about it. You got to win your home games.
Right.
And especially when you get an opportunity to play a legit SEC school on your floor, a high major league opponent, you have to take advantage of that.
So you got to beat Ole Miss. You've got to beat A&M. Those are home games. If you were to sneak one by against Auburn on a neutral in Atlanta or win in Tuscaloosa, which is pretty tough. But if you got one of those two and you won the 2 home games, taking 3 out of 4 from the SEC West, I think you've really got enough collateral to get a decent seed at this point.
Yeah. I think you've lowered the bar of what you absolutely have to accomplish in the league. Given the state of the league, it goes down from you can only lose to Houston and maybe one other to to something that would be more normal relative to league achievement, which would be you're going to drop one on the road every now and then, and people won't punish you for it. That sort of thing. So there's a lot of opportunity there for the Tigers, and they have played some really good basketball. They missed a real opportunity in that Seton Hall game because they played well enough to win. And I think Seton Hall is going to be a tournament team, but they're flirting with, they're kind of doing the same dance as the Tigers are right now, where they're winning they're winning some games like beating the Tigers, and then they're dropping a couple along the way as well. So they have to make sure that they get tight for Big East play, because the Big East is going to be solid.
There are now 9 undefeateds that I know of. Maryland is 6-0 at 22nd. Auburn, that Memphis will play, is 7-0. They're 19th in the country. Does the 72 Indiana team have anything to worry about? Or
No,
75 Indiana.
76.
76. Okay, we'll get there. There were 32-0 though, right?
Oh, but all 4 of those, but all 3 of those teams you mentioned were great teams. The 75 team went undefeated all the way to the regional final, and the 72 team, I believe, made the Final Four. So you were in the right alley. They did. I don't think so. Houston would be the one that would be the greatest threat because they play in the league that they play in,
right.
and as I said before, they didn't schedule great. I think the Tigers are going to get one against them at home. I think they'll get that game because it'll be so big for them. And as long as they're healthy and all that, I think they'll be in position to get that game. They played Houston better than just about anybody over the last 3-4 years. As Houston got good, nobody stood toe to toe with them better than the Tigers have.
I believe that game it's an 11 o'clock game. I think it's on the Sunday of Selection Sunday. It's March 5th, if I recall correctly. Could you imagine if they were undefeated coming in to FedEx Forum? CBS is doing that. It's a national game already. So I'm sure Nance would be on it. And that would be unbelievable if that were the case.
Absolutely. It would be amazing. And we've seen teams get there before. I mean, I covered Illinois against Ohio State in 2005. They made it to the final day. Ohio State beat them. I was there when St. Joe's lost after getting through the regular season undefeated. And the key here is, this is the truth, Dave, if Houston gets there, then everybody at Memphis should fly me to Memphis, because I've been there in the gym for just about every team that's been undefeated and gone down late in the year.
We'll start. I'll tell you what. We'll start a FundMe page if that occurs. No doubt about it. Last thing, because I'm already up against it. But you've been writing on the World Cup. Does USA knock off Iran today?
I think they will. I think the later it goes, the worse it gets. They need to get an early goal. When I say early, I mean sometime within the first half hour. They need to get a goal. They can't keep. One of the things that's bothered me about them as a team is that they are always looking for the perfect play instead of, I can get myself open here at 18 yards and take this shot. They never do that. They almost never do that. And when Christian Pulisic did it against England on Friday, he almost scored. Yeah. He hit the crossbar. So they got to do a little bit more of that. That's not to be like just firing shots all over the place, but they need to be more precise about that. And I think they'll make it, but it's going to be challenging. And one of the big keys to watch is how it's being refereed, because Iran likes to be really physical, and that's not the U.S.'s game. And if those plays are called fouls or yellow cards are issued for those kinds of fouls, that'll be really good, a really good sign for the U.S.
Looking forward to talking next week, maybe about the knockout round, too. That would be great if we're on that subject. Thank you, Mike DeCourcy. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.
That is the Hall of Famer, Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. He's brought to you by Ken Garland. Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders, second generation. His dad started this business about 60-something years ago. Ken's taken it over. And what you're getting is 2 generations of quality, beautiful, amazing work. That's the truth. You're ready to build your dream home? He's the guy. Ken Garland Custom Homes. Go to kengarland.com. You'll see what I'm talking about, okay? Then call He's a really cool guy to talk to. Sees little details, big picture all at once. Maybe it's a renovation you want. You don't want to leave your lot. You love your location. It feels like home, but you want the modern amenities. He's the perfect guy for that, too. His number, 751-1632. He'll give you exactly what you should expect. Quality construction on time and on budget. 751-1632. Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. That'll do it for us. Special show tomorrow. More on the World Cup and a whole bunch. Johnny Radio's next. Have a great day.
Hey, fellas. Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, and it happened October the 11th. I had my first guy ask me what he should get his wife for Christmas, and my answer was this: